What's going on, guys? Welcome back to another live stream Tuesday night. Same old anymore, it seems like. Let me get a little bit of house cleaning done right beforehand. Just a heads up, this will be the only Tuesday night live open mic for the month of September. It's not going to work out. I've got a bunch of overtime scheduled this month, and I'm trying to take advantage of as much of that as I can, because as well as you guys know, my little man's on his way, and we're probably 30 days or so, maybe 6 weeks out. So I'm trying to get as much of the OT as possible ahead of time before I go on paternity leave. So this is the last one for the week, or last one for the month rather, of the Tuesday night live streams. However, in 3 weeks, Tuesday the 28th, we will be live at 8:30 for our next clutch cutting, which is some GHI and Mojave clowns. So just kind of a supplement there, but just to figure give you guys all a heads up that we will not be here next week or the week after for a regular open mic. So without further ado, I guess we'll bring on the man of the hour, Mr. Shawn Gray, Herp Show. What's up, buddy?
Hey man, how's it going?
Good, man. Thanks for coming on and hanging out. We finally got this put back together. Do you want to be the bearer of bad news to people listening as to what happened and what's going on moving forward as to why we weren't here last time?
Honestly, man, it's been a little bit crazy. A lot of stuff has been going on, and most people know how busy I am. So yeah. I apologize. I know that it was just chaos that whole day and night and a few days after that, and we having to deal with a venue that pretty much just fucked us. That's a big deal. So
yeah, and that's what you were saying when you and I talked, and that's what developed into being out of Pueblo altogether, right?
Yeah, and it was one of those things where it was a decent show. I was happy with it, but I knew that it could grow, if we spent more time there. Colorado's a weird state, man. People don't like to travel. Yeah, I know. Yeah. It's like, well, PACFA's a load of bullshit, honestly. Don't care if you support them or not. You shouldn't, honestly. They're just a money grab. But
so what is that?
So PACFA is the organization that basically controls the pet trade. They're supposed to come in and do inspections and enforce the rules and regulations that Colorado Fish and Game has written. However, they kind of take it upon themselves to make up shit on the fly. It's a bureaucracy. They want money. They fined me $500 for advertising before my permit was done, but I can't get a permit until they come do the inspection the morning of the show. So it's just a load of shit, honestly.
And that's specific to Colorado, or is that something you do everywhere?
It's specific to Colorado, as far as I know. I know that there are probably other states that have organizations like that, but they're one of the more overreaching parts of that. So, I mean, literally, we've had a PACFA inspector come in and tell a vendor, you can't sell that, and we're like, we looked everything up, Fish and Game. We went through all the regulations. We talked to Fish and Game officers, and they say it's fine. Well, then they'll tell us, well, no, they'll come in and confiscate and euthanize the animal, so take it off the table, or I can't give you a permit. And I'm like, that's bullshit. So last time, I kind of pissed the lady off because I actually had Fish and Game come up there. I had an actual Fish and Game in Pueblo guy come up there who was actually really cool and a snake keeper. And he came up and flat out told the inspector, you're wrong. You're wrong. This person can have this. It was basically about short-tailed possums, believe it or not. It wasn't even about a reptile. But that vendor had looked up the regulations and gone through everything with me, and we've talked to people and made sure that it was okay. And they there's a certain amount of species that are, regulated or illegal to own or possess or sell there, but which we follow all the rules. And he asked to see the USDA permit and asked their Latin name and took pictures of it and did 5 minutes of research and said, yep, you're fine. You're good. And the inspector was just mouth on the floor. So that's just one of the little irritances, but we got around that stuff. You know what I'm saying? We got around that, but when the venue basically double booked us. Well, they booked half of our venue that we had a contract for to another show, or not a show. I don't even know what it was. Honestly, they didn't tell us, but they gave up half of our space and didn't tell us because they thought we couldn't afford it. That was the actual email that we got back from them. That's frustrating, man. You try to build relationships with these people and work with them, and then we were in the middle of that crisis whenever I was supposed to be on last time. So I apologize to everyone for kind of leaving you hanging there. It was just kind of one of those things where I had to scramble to figure what the hell I was going to do,
Yeah, no doubt. So I guess for those who don't know, if there's any chance that there's people watching this that don't know who you are or why you're here, what's the 60-second elevator speech of you and your wife and what you guys do?
We own and operate the Herp's Exotic Reptile and Pet Shows. So we are a family first, quality oriented show. I've been a reptile keeper since I was 9 years old and bred all kinds of stuff and vended for years and years and years. And so we wanted to do a show that we put on that was from our vendor's perspective, but we wanted to take care of our vendors and customers, and we treat everyone like family for real. We really do treat everyone like family. So, it's turned out to be, really, really great. I mean, we've cut back a few shows, but we've had to because we need to focus on our family too, and there are certain areas that just weren't growing, and if the vendors aren't making money, the customers are upset about it because they can't go to a show and look. But if the vendors aren't making money, you don't have vendors, you don't have customers. So it's just a chain reaction. So we try to do shows where I work for my vendors. My vendors don't work for me, kind of thing. That's the mentality I live by.
Okay.
And that's how it will always be. So that's the quick and dirty of it, honestly.
So how, I guess, first of all, is this your full-time gig? Is that what you do?
Yeah.
That's okay. And how long have you guys been doing that?
Our first show was in January of 2015. That was a Conroe show. Yeah.
Okay.
So I was working at a job and I had some back injuries and had multiple back surgery. And I was still doing the shows for 2015 while I was still employed. My wife was still working. My wife was the VP of a medical recruiting company. And I worked at a job that made $40 an hour. And I was doing, 12, 14, 16-hour days sometimes. So we weren't hurting for money. We wanted to see a change. We were vending shows where the promoters could give a shit what happened. And I was vending next to people with dead animals on their tables and just got fucking sick of it, honestly, and so it started off kind of slow and we hit and miss, and we've had good shows and bad shows, but we've stuck with it. And my wife, I think 2.5, 3 years ago, quit her job full time to come do this with me. And, my son now works for us, and my daughters take care of the animals now at home, and they're going to be going to college in the spring semester here. And now we're opening a reptile shop. That was actually what we were going to do before Herps, honestly.
Wow. Okay. I guess it's, it's definitely a testament to how you guys run your show and how successful it's been. The fact that you're able to be show promoters full time, you know what I mean? And so what are you guys, I guess the question is, are you guys at the capacity that you want to be at, or is there more expansion to be done, or like where is that balance? Because it seems like when I hear Chris Eaton rattle off all the show dates on his show and whatnot, it's like, and these guys, he'll even say like, oh, they're taking like a 2-week break. Good for them. It's like, but it seems like it's almost like it's, around the clock and all over at least the southern part of the country.
Well, and it really is, but we do, I think we're going to do 26, 28 shows next year. So it's basically half the year. We have stretches where there's a couple of shows back to back. And last year we did one stretch where it was like 4 or 5 back. Oh, that was horrible. That was just, it was really, really bad. I mean, the shows were great, but we were just busting our asses. But it's not just going in, I've said this on other podcasts and talked to other people. You don't just go in and open the doors and throw tables in and you have a fucking reptile show. It's not what it's about, So whenever I was vending, I was promoting myself and my business more than the actual show promoters were promoting their entire show. And so I've kind of learned a lot about the social media marketing side of it and taught myself a lot. And I'm still learning and I'm still adapting and we're still evolving and we're still growing. But like you said, a good word is balance. You don't want to get to where you're too big. Like we have so many people that come to our Conroe show, and it's really one of the biggest shows there is. It's not a super show. It's not a Pomona. It's not a Daytona. It's not a Tinley. It's like an Arlington NERBC. It's a massive show.
Wow.
But I mean, we pull 6,000 to 7,000 people through legit numbers, not bullshit fucking numbers that show promoters throw at you. 6,000 to 7,000 is the average attendance for that show for the weekend. But it's grown from 2,000 to that, you know what I'm saying? So we put the work in, but a lot of people want us to make it bigger. And honestly, we don't want to make it bigger. If you make it bigger and you start adding more vendors or you go to a bigger venue or something, you have to find a balance where the vendors are making money, the customers are happy, everything is there. If you start adding more vendors, you're taking money out of the vendors who've been loyal to you. You're taking money out of their pockets. So it's not always about how big the show can be. There are shows that we've actually scaled back on vendors because the money wasn't spread evenly enough between the vendors. And I don't care if I'm losing a few $100s on tables, as long as the vendors are happy and they're making money and the customers are happy. That's in our mind what builds a successful show.
Okay. And I guess the thing I'm always interested in seeing is how it works, because obviously this is a full-time business for you guys, so you still need to pay for the roof over your head and put meals on the table and whatnot. So, and I get that. I've tried helping a buddy of mine here in town trying to do local shows up here because we don't have access to them. And it seemed, what would you say is the secret to making a successful, if nothing else, regional show circuit?
I mean, honestly, giving a shit about your people that you're working with, like for real. You support them, they're going to support you. We spend money on nice venues. We don't go cheap as possible. We lose money every time we open the door, man. Like we go in we don't scalp our vendors for table cost. I mean, we're trying to in the beginning try to break, get close enough to break even where we were just getting an admission for the door. But then I was spending like $500 to $1,000 on advertising, where an average show now is $6,000 to $7,000 just on Facebook. So it's not about just, like I said, anybody can go start a business and say, hey, I'm going to run a reptile show and advertise and contact vendors. I worked with these vendors. I sat next to these vendors and vended next to these guys in the beginning. You know what I'm saying? So being on the other side of the table actually helped me tremendously, I think. But I had relationships with these vendors, and the people have supported us, and they've come and go. I mean, and we've weeded out the ones that are shit. The ones that aren't good for the hobby. We've blacklisted them and banned them and kicked them out, and they're not allowed back. It's about keeping up your quality. You don't want your customers coming in. If the customer has an issue, they don't talk to somebody on a phone call somewhere, a staff member. They talk to me or my wife. Because whenever something goes bad at a show, it's always, there was an animal that wasn't healthy at Herp's. It wasn't this vendor's table. When they buy a fantastic animal and they're happy, they bought it from that vendor. You know what I'm saying? So we have to stay on top of that, and we have to keep people in the hobby. That's the biggest problem that we have is animal rights activists are growing in numbers, and if you have somebody that comes to a show and has a bad experience, they're not coming back to our hobby, period. They're gonna lose interest. And I hold my vendors accountable for that. If a customer contacts me and says, hey, this guy sold me a snake, something's wrong with it, it's not eating, and they're not contacting me, well, the next call I'm making is to that vendor and saying, hey, fix your shit, So, and we work together like that. Like I said, they really don't work for me, but I do hold them accountable for stuff like that. And luckily over the years, we've grown to where I really don't have to do any of that. My vendors can walk around a show, and if a new vendor's there and they have shitty animals on their table, they immediately come to me and grab me and say, hey, let's go take care of this. And we take care of it. There's certain people that I've helped that have taken heed to that, and they've cleaned up their act, and they're better, and they're doing a lot, but they're also doing better in sales and their presentation and everything else. Their business is growing. But there's some that just fought it, and they think the old school way was, get some fucking crates from Delta and open them up Saturday morning, you know, and unbag it and cup it and throw it on the table. And that's the kind of shows I was doing back then, you know? So I was going to those shows and it was just horrible. So I think there's no real rhyme or reason to what makes it a successful show. My wife and I put every damn thing into this. My family does. You know, we put our heart and soul into this. We work all day, every day, either on the show or working with trying to make the shows better. She's an organizational wizard, so she keeps everything running like a clock, and I'm just the pretty face pretty much. So
I got to shout out my buddy, Colorado Cold Bloods here, Corey, for the super chat. Says Shawn and Lori are amazing, hella awesome shows. But
thanks,
sadly, as we've said, out of Pueblo for now. You guys have a spring show, a Colorado Spring show as well, or is that somebody else?
We actually started in Colorado Springs, and it was supposed to be in an event center in a mall. They fucked that up, and they put us like in another smaller event center downstairs. It was an old department store, and that was horrible. You had to walk through basically half the mall to get to the. I mean, we had a great attendance for the first show. Don't get me wrong. And then we were actually going to be moving over to the other event center, the something Rose. I can't remember now. We had a contract to go into there instead of going to Pueblo, but they were installing HVAC, and they weren't going to complete it. So we ended up having to go to Pueblo to the convention center because it was a month before the show that we found this out that it wasn't going to be ready. So we made that move and we kind of just stayed there. So, I mean, Pueblo was okay. People don't drive. I mean, honestly, we didn't pull that many people from Denver, and 25 sucks, period. I've been up and down that road. There's always construction. So I get that, but we live in Texas where a show 4 hours away is like, you know, let's go to the gas station, you know, and go grab something for lunch and let's drive 4 hours to a reptile show. So it's a little different, you know, and I think, you know, there's some shows there that are going to do really well. And there's some shows there that should probably be left alone, but I'm not, you know, I don't want to go into that. I just think that I always tell people to go to every reptile show they can, you know, experience it, go do it. There's always good vendors at every show. It doesn't matter who the promoter is. There's always good vendors there, you know?
Yeah. And I mean, if anybody's curious of what we're alluding to, you can just go check out Bob Vu's page. He's very, very well open and loud about the shows that he likes attending.
I love Bob.
Bob, yeah, we had him on a couple weeks ago, but he's a pretty cool dude, actually. I really enjoyed that.
Bob actually vended one of our original New Orleans shows way back, like the first New Orleans show ever. And I think they did okay. New Orleans was kind of a weird show when we started it out. We, of course, didn't have our budget, but I think they did okay. But that's like the only show Bob ever did for us. Really? So, yeah. I mean, now, though, the problem is that it's a good problem to have, but it's also frustrating for people is we have a waiting list for every show through 2022. And when we open our 2023 dates, they'll sell out. I mean, we only have a certain amount of space and tables and you know, that we can grow to. So it's been impressive.
Yeah, no doubt. It's a testament to obviously how you're running it. Because if that wasn't the case, it either wouldn't be repeat customers or you wouldn't be selling out, you know. So that's
no, we get a ton of repeat customers, but the people are coming to see the vendors. They're not coming to see us, you know. I mean,
that's what I mean, repeat vendors and that. But yeah.
The customers are coming to see the vendors. I mean, I dress like an idiot and run around and be stupid and stuff, but I mean, they're there to see the animals and the vendors. So holding the vendors to a higher quality, you know, standard of quality and them helping promote the show is what it's all about. We all help each other. So
yep. Shout out to Silver Cash. This is a regular in the chat from Barcheck's lives that I stole weeks ago. So he came over and hangs out with us occasionally. He says just got off work, flying out Friday to the Reptarium. Actually, talking about Barcheck. And glad to catch you live. So I appreciate you coming in, man. Make sure that Brian's actually healthy before you head out there, because I saw that he was sick. So. And then we got the fat man himself came to say hi. So, Mr. Chris, thanks for hanging out, man. It's it's definitely a circuit I want to get down to. You know, I'm in the southern part of Montana, so we don't have access to pretty much anything, to be quite frank. You know, the Spokane Valley show is the next closest to me, other than the occasional local one we have here, which hopefully we're going to get back into the swing of doing those more regularly. But the Spokane Valley one's the next closest to me, which is 8 hours. Denver's 8 hours. There isn't anything like in the Rapid City area or you know, southwestern South Dakota and whatnot. And then Salt Lake, which is 8 hours as well. So it's like, it's tough for us. And it's been okay because I do 99% of my sales online, obviously. So I don't have that big of an issue, but I do want to still vend, you know, and meet the people that are behind the names that are buying the animals and that kind of thing. So it's, I know. Go ahead.
There's definitely something to be said about that. You know, whenever I used to be from the forum days and stuff like that, when I was trying to sell and vend shows, but there's still a huge population of people that would rather come and see the animals in person and meet the breeder.
Yeah.
You know, Morph Market's now sponsoring us, and whenever they're ready, we're going to sponsor Morph Market. John's in Dallas, and we've talked so much online. I finally actually got to meet him in person at one of the last RBC shows, and we talked about a lot of it because we can all help each other, and that's what this whole community misses out on. The entire fucking reptile community misses out on. We are all in this together, one way or the other. It doesn't matter if you breed ticks or fucking garter snakes. This is all our hobby, you know? And so if we're against each other, it causes a divide. You know, that's one of the biggest things. It's always going to be that way, unfortunately, because no one will go stick out of their ass and think, okay, well, I'm not better than that person. We should all help each other. And I'll never not see it that way. Honestly, that's what we're here for.
Silver Cash came back with another super chat. Says, I thought about today how I would put on my own expo because our Repticon sucks ass. He's in the Gulf, Southern Alabama area.
Oh, so, yeah.
He's down in Bob View territory.
We tried to do a show, man. We got shut down. We were going to try to do a show in the Biloxi area. We actually had it all scheduled and booked and everything.
Oh God, why? What a dump!
Well, because people wanted us to go, man. People were begging us to go. And we had a show set up, and we had a nice venue, and this was a few years ago, and it went in front of city council, and they said no. The animal control director keeps berms down there, and he was all about it, and was like, he went into the court into the council meeting for us and everything, and fought for us. But I guess there was someone that thought that snakes were evil. I'm not even shitting. They shut down a Halloween store there too the next day. But they have a Petco that sells everything we were going to be bringing. We couldn't bring hots there, obviously. But yeah, so we were kind of bummed about that. But you know, we're more now just kind of focusing on making the shows that are within an 8 to 10 hour radius of us, just making those bigger and better.
That was my next question: is what is your guys' reach at this point?
I mean, average 8 to 10 hour drive for us. You know, we're not looking to add any more shows, honestly. We want
which for you is still in Texas.
well, yeah. Texas right now, you know, after the venue in Kansas City got sold, that screwed us over. We were doing Kansas City. We do an Oklahoma City show, which is in Shawnee. It's right outside. It's actually between Oklahoma City and Tulsa. And then we have 3 Louisiana shows, Slidell, New Orleans, and Lafayette. And then Texas is the rest of it. I mean, we can't do a show in New Mexico. It's the cross-state permitting fees. So that's pretty much around us, you know. We were going to do a show in Memphis. That fell through. And the further shows, the longer we thought about it and talked about it, it's so much to do. It's not just like there's so much that you have to do. The time that it was going to take, and if you add more shows, for us, it was taking away from the shows that we wanted to establish already, you know? So our kind of mindset is adapted to, well, let's just make these shows the best that they can be now. Let's put all of our time, energy, money, everything into these shows and make them keep growing and growing and growing and growing, you know? So, and that's what we've been doing. So.
Well, and I imagine too, especially when you're trying to plant a new show, that if it's 10, 12, 16 hours away, whatever, it becomes a nightmare just trying to be on location to go venues and to coordinate for things and make sure stuff's set up weeks or months in advance. I mean, you're probably back and forth a lot trying to make sure that these things are all done correctly. And I can only imagine.
Logistically, it's a nightmare. It really is. But when we were doing it, we were still giving every single show. There's not a single show that we gave any less effort than we did, our very first show. We will never do that. That's just not the kind of people we are. But there's certain things that you look for, and you can see that there's not a growth going on. And like I said, if the vendors aren't happy, you're not going to have vendors. It doesn't matter how much they support and love you. They're feeding their families. You know what I'm saying? So if they're going traveling, because a lot of people followed us from Texas. I mean, we had plenty of vendors from Colorado area, New Mexico, Oklahoma, but a lot of our vendors follow us to every single show. That doesn't matter. If I did a show in New York, they'd probably go. I'm not doing a show in New York, but you know what I'm saying? Like they would, and they would put their own businesses and their own families on the line to come support us. And I don't want them to have to do that. I want them to be able to feed their families and support their business and their hobby. If they're recreational, that's great, and grow their business. And that's what we've seen. We've seen so many people that have grown with us, and that's what it's about, honestly.
Yeah, it was too bad about the KC show. I was bummed on that one because my wife and my daughter and I were in Olathe for that entire week. It's visiting family, so I shipped down like a dozen animals to Josh and Jackie in Fort Scott because he was supposed to be there, and I was kind of like, all right, cool, I'll come help work your table and I'll hang out, and I'll go to the Herp show and everything. And I'm sitting there in my brother-in-law's house. I'm like, what the hell? And apparently, because I remember I had reached out to him, like, Shawn, what the hell's going on? He's like, that's been canceled for like 3 weeks.
Yeah.
And somehow Josh and I just completely missed it.
Yeah, it was, that whole venue got sold completely. And the people who bought it basically just tore up our contracts. And the most fucked up thing about that is that we didn't hear from the current manager there. The previous event coordinator that was there that we became really close with. We actually really became close with her because we worked with her all the time. She heard about it and contacted us and told us. And then we called the office and said, hey, what the hell's going on? And they go, oh, yeah, we didn't tell you. Are you kidding me? Like, what the hell? So, and that's lost time, money, energy. Like that's lost into that show. And then you're like, okay, well, another show promoter came in and is there now, a little south of there. And so, Mickey's doing a show me. And that's kind of his area anyway. Honestly, the only reason we did that show is because people were asking us to, for one, but that's where my wife's from. She's actually from Kansas City. So it was also a chance for us to see her family and grow a new market. And we were already in Oklahoma City, so it wasn't that far of a stretch, So, but again, it's one of those things where it doesn't have to be us. Other people can follow. If other people can learn from us and we can learn from other people, they can all be good shows. They really could. So I'm not saying we're doing anything perfect. I'm still learning from people. Mickey and I talked for years about marketing and advertising, bouncing ideas off of each other. We still do, So, and I support those guys. There's a couple people that I won't give a dime to. But guys like Mickey, I'll support him 100%, So.
Well, that was what I was going to ask is how much overlap? I mean, we know Repticon's everywhere, it seems like. But aside from them, how much overlap do you have with some of the other big promoters? And are you, it sounds like obviously with Mickey it is, but are you on good terms with guys like that? There's overlap with Show Me and with Reptilian Nation and with obviously NARBC and that kind of thing. And
no, Mickey and I have a great working relationship. We help each other out. We'll never try to stack any or hurt anybody's either one. I'm not going to try to hurt his business, and he's not going to try to hurt my business. I still haven't made it to one of his shows. He's made it to a couple of hours, but now he can't. That man's busier than all of us combined right now. He's doing a ton of shows, but no, we have a good mutual understanding about that, and we still bounce these ideas off each other all the time. And we did like we did in the beginning. Ryan at Reptilian Nation, he vended our very first Conroe show, and he vended our second Austin show. That's when I met Ryan.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, so he kind of that was my first introduction to him before he even thought about doing expos. And again, same thing. I was talking to Ryan. He was bouncing ideas off of me, and I was bouncing off ideas off of them. What's working for you? What's working for us? So that's how show promoters should work together. They shouldn't try to stack dates on top of each other. They shouldn't try to cut each other's throats. We should try to help promote each other because we want, as a whole, how many reptile show owners and promoters are there in the United States? I mean,
half
if you
a
think
dozen,
about
maybe.
it, maybe probably less than 20. I mean, there's probably shows we don't know about, obviously.
Fair.
But
and there's small independent local ones like us here.
But still, we're kind of in a weird position. But if we don't help each other, if we're trying to, fuck each other over, it just makes everything worse for our entire community. So those people who don't want to be in that circle and don't want to help and don't understand that it's for a better good, they usually weed themselves out too. They usually get the short end of the stick because the people who work together learn from each other and keep growing, So that's what we've done.
And I'm interested to check out Ryan's stuff too, because he does the Denver area 2 or 3 times a year as well. And like I said, that's the nearest spot that I've got. Well, and so
he did the spring show, and he did it at Norris Penrose. That was the venue. He actually did it at the venue we had contracted for, like a little after Pueblo. And I'm not sure, I didn't really hear how that went, but I know I've heard his Vegas show and his Denver show are fantastic. They're phenomenal. The one thing he does is bring in crowds. He really does. So, yeah, I mean, I've heard his shows are awesome. So,
well, and he's in big markets too, obviously. I mean, it's a lot like was it Rami down there in LA? He's in, that's a big market. Of course it's gonna be a massive show.
I've been to Pomona. I went to Pomona a couple of years ago. Yeah. They were busing people in from the parking lot, man. It was insane. Like 11 o'clock, I couldn't get out the front doors. We got there early, and it was nuts. But again, it is a big market. You're trying to reach as many people as you can to get them in. There's no magic button that says just bring in buyers. You gotta try to target. There's certain keywords and things you can use and tricks that you can use to try to get those people, but you don't know if people are coming in to buy. Our job as show promoters is to bring people through the door. And the more people we bring through the door, the better chance that the vendors have. It's the vendor's job to sell their animals. And so I'll say it right now. If you're sitting on your ass playing on your phone and there's customers sitting at your table, I will walk up, and I guarantee you vendors have seen me. I'll walk up behind their table and try to sell an animal. I've sold more animals at shows that I've been promoting than I did when I was fucking vending, because I will walk up and just to piss them off and start talking to the customer about their animals and show them. I did it the last show to a guy that I've known forever, just wasn't paying attention, was sitting in his chair talking to a customer, and they're asking questions and he's just pointing. And I walk up behind the table and start talking to him, engage them, pick up an animal, hand it to them, and they're buying 3 animals later, So it's like I said, it's our job. That's our job. We bring people through the door. You guys sell your product. You sell your animals,
So I know Chris Eaton on his show a lot of times, he's just a crotchety old guy anyway, but he always bitches about especially now that he's got Stewart Design on board, he always bitches about having like crap tables, and you've got some like Dollar Tree plaid cover and deli cups, and you're sitting there in your folding lawn chair with your Post-it notes and shit. Like, do you guys have a so to speak dress code for the show?
No, you know what? I started like that. I started with a queen sheet that I got from Walmart or the Dollar General to cover my table and deli cups. That's how I started, and that's how a lot of people started. Not a lot of people that started vending, besides Josh Jackie, that fucker. His first show was Kansas City. He has banners that are like 12 foot tall and shit like that. Yeah. So, but no, that's how I started. I built a little wooden stand, and it was a step stand that looks kind of like the ARS step things right now. And I set up deli cups and markers, but I kept my shit clean and it was organized. And I had little desk lamps from Walmart. I'm not shitting you. That was my original setup. So what I'll do though is if somebody comes in like that, I'll go talk to them and try to give them ideas to how to make it better. But I'm not gonna criticize someone because they don't have the money of some of these bigger breeders that have been doing this for a long time. And some of these people are just hobbyists. So they may have the best animals in the room, but just because they're not as fancy as the next person next to them doesn't make them less of a person to me. If I see something that's crappy and they're shitty, there's snake shit filling up the tubs and stuff like that, and that I'll take care of. But just because they don't have a fancy setup doesn't mean that they're not a good person, a good breeder, and doesn't necessarily mean they don't belong to be there. You know, those people are starting from where every fucking one of us started. You know,
Yeah,
and that's what a lot of people forget.
Yeah, and that makes sense. You know, we can't all have that 12 by 12 show display like Justin has. That you know.
Yeah, but seeing but he's done the work. He's put the work in. That's the thing, and those people will get there. And I did it. Then I went to acrylics, and then when I went to I was vending 4 tables at NERBC. When I stopped vending, I was I had 400 or 500 leopard geckos on my table and a huge end cap and stuff. So with banners and all kinds of lights and everything else. But it took me a while to get there. I was putting in my dues. So no, we don't have. I mean, I want it to be presentable, but if you come into one of our shows, everybody pretty much. And if somebody doesn't have a table cover, you know what happens? Another vendor will walk over and loan them a table cover, or I'll have extra table covers. Like, it's not. Yeah, that's going back to the part of helping each other. We're representing the entire show. They're representing my company. I'm representing their companies. So yeah, I don't think that that's necessary to make it like that.
I want to. Just make sure, first of all, Silver Cash, I saw your other super chat. I appreciate it. If any of you guys in the chat too have any questions that I'm not hitting on that you got for Shawn, definitely put them in there, and I'll try to keep an eye on it and grab them. I'm sure there's plenty of people that are. It's definitely interesting. It's obviously it's something. It's an integral part of what we as snake breeders and that are trying to do, having a show to go, vend and whatnot. But knowing what the other side of that looks like is, at least for me, is the interesting part. That's what part of the reason I wanted to have you on. It's like, we can all go to the show and be like, yeah, this is a badass show, but a lot of people don't realize what that actually takes.
No, it's a lot. It's a lot, and I guarantee you. And if anybody is on that's watching was ever at our last Wichita Falls show, I literally broke down in tears on Saturday. I was bawling like a baby because I realized there was a mistake in some advertising. And all of my budget for the entire time went to Instagram, and it was going to ads were hitting people in California and Alaska and Florida, and nothing was targeted.
No.
So it was a waste of $3,000 or $4,000 on advertising for that show, and it was just dead. Like, nobody was there, and I wasn't crying because I fucked up. I was like really crying because everybody put their faith in me, and they weren't making any money.
That's not just a product of Wichita Falls. Like,
no, well, and you know what? It ended up being that way. Like, we really couldn't. The market just wasn't growing. Like, it was a really tough nut to crack, and we never saw any growth out of it. The vendors didn't see any growth out of it. So it's better at that time just to cut ties and move on and use that money into making another show better. So. That's part of it. You have to. Nobody can tell you that if they've ever promoted a show that every single show has been stellar. We've had some shitty shows, but that's not for lack of effort on our part, and that's what people I think understand now. In the beginning, we caught shit from some of the bigger promoters that I'm not going to mention either that do these national shows. We caught all kinds of hell from those guys because they're like, well, what are you doing? You're just a peon. Well, I'm doing it different. I'm really trying to do something completely different. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So, and we're still trying to do it differently, and we're still learning. But yeah, that's it. It's there's a lot more that goes on behind the scenes. My wife does way more work than anybody gives her credit for. Like, she is amazing. That woman works her ass off, and she's kind of behind the scenes, but she keeps this machine going for real. Like, I handle all of the marketing and advertising, most of the vendor stuff. She handles all of the vendor stuff as far as scheduling and booking and picking tables and doing all that stuff. And we work with the sponsors closely, and we work on behind the scenes with the Herp's Family Foundation and all the logistics, loading in, loading out. We do that ourselves. We don't have a crew of people that come in and do that for us. My son helps me now. We travel, we drive, we don't fly anywhere. We're on the road all the time. So if we're not working on the shop, which I have been, but we're on our computers figuring out the next big thing and what we're going to do and figuring out budgets and working and checking. Since that thing happened in Wichita Falls, I check my ads 3 times a day. I'm looking for it. Well, and because it really did like sink in that I should have paid more attention. But I mean, it was something that just changed an algorithm, and then I never caught it. So I stay on top of it. That's the first thing I do in the morning. I check them later in the afternoon. I check them at night before I go to bed. And then I review my results the next day. And for the first hour and a half, 2 hours in the morning, that's what I'm doing. I'm going through my ad results for however many shows I'm advertising for at the time. And I'm checking everything and changing shit and working, on stuff. So
wow.
There's a lot more that goes on behind the scenes than just, like I said, just driving up to a show, setting up tables and opening the doors. It really is.
Yeah. I just joke about Wichita Falls. When I was in the Air Force, I was assigned to a B-1 base, which is in South Dakota, and the only other one in the country is Shepherd in Wichita Falls.
Gotcha.
And so I was like, I knew when I got assigned, I was like, oh, thank God, I don't want to go to North Texas. That sounds awful.
Yeah, it's kind of out there, but
yeah.
But
I spent 6 months of the longest month of my life in Biloxi, Mississippi. That's why I got
that's why you don't like Biloxi. They have a beach though there. Fucking Wichita Falls doesn't have a beach. You got the Red River.
Yeah, that beach is gross because I was there not long after Katrina, so it was still trash.
Okay. Yeah, it was bad. Yeah. So
I guess it was a ways after Katrina, but it's still. I mean, I was there in 11, but it was still pretty rough.
Yeah.
You could still see like water lines on some of the buildings. Stuff like that. And the base is like they had water all the way to the front gate, which is up the hill there a little bit. It's about probably half mile back from the beach, maybe something like that. So I can only imagine what it was like when that was actually happening. But it was a neat area. And my wife and I were down in Gulf Shores back in May, which is just down the road, not too far. That area is not too bad. And the Pensacola area that's not too bad.
Yeah, I liked Orange Beach. Orange Beach was really pretty out there. So.
Yeah, I never got a chance to get that far over. We went to it's similar name as Orange Beach, but it's just on the other side of the first bridge when you head east out of Gulfport or out of Biloxi. You head east. There's like a big bridge that goes over, and there's a little town right there. That's actually where I got my first tattoo. But everybody said when I was there, like, you need to go all the way down and go to Orange Beach. That's where like all the better tattoo parlors are and the nicer casinos and the better beaches and all that jazz. But it was, dude, I will tell you, I've told some of my friends this and that because I was there from, I guess it was just before Christmas, something like that, just after Christmas maybe, until May. And so I was there for Mardi Gras. And I didn't go to New Orleans for Mardi Gras, which I gravely regret doing because I've still never been there. And as it turned out, the entire squadron got in trouble because most of them went to Mardi Gras and came back hungover and missed the first day of class and shit like that. So I paid the price and didn't get to go. You know what I mean? So, but I was there for spring break, right? And I'm not a sheltered kid by any means. I'm a fairly not well traveled, but well versed kid from Northern California, outside of Sacramento. I've experienced plenty of culture, especially in Sacramento, and that kind of thing. But I gotta say, when I left the base and drove down the main road there along the ocean, along the beach, and realized that it was as far as you could see in every direction, like lowrider donk, freaking Lambo door, 40-inch rim cars, and African Americans as far as you could see. And I got back to I stopped and looked at some of the cars. They're pretty cool. But I got back to the gate or the base, and I'm like, dude, what the hell is this? He's like, oh, that's Black Spring Break. I had no clue that was even a thing. I might as well have been a corn-fed kid from Nebraska that had never left the town, right? I was so naive to it. But apparently, like a week or two after normal spring break, I guess is the best way to put it, there's in that part of the country, or at least in that city, there's a Black Spring Break, and it's literally exactly what it sounds like. And I was floored, dude. That was a culture shock for me. It's a really interesting place for sure. Did we lose him? I think we lost him. I scared him away with my story. There's a moth in here. Let me grab some of these supers real quick while we wait for Shawn to come back. Silver Cash said, We have tons of breeders in the area and definitely not enough feeders for the demand, and can't wait to rep the new gear. Yeah, man. I'm excited to see if you'll end up on like one of the vlogs or something when you're hanging out with Brian. That'll be rad. Yeah, there he goes. So we'll see if he comes back here in just a minute. I'm assuming, Xylo, if that's how you pronounce it, that you're the one that just put the deposit on Jack. So congrats, man. That'd be cool. Let me see if Shawn's back. There he is.
Weird.
Yeah. I don't know where I dropped off, but I figured I killed you with my story, so you just left.
No, the screen just went blank and I saw circles and it kicked me out.
Oh, weird. Yeah, man. It's just Biloxi was a neat place, but I've spent my due time there, and I don't need to go back. You know, I'll go down to the Gulf Shores once a year or whatever and visit family. And dude, when granted, I'm from Northern California. I live in Southern Montana now. We landed in Pensacola in May to go visit our family, and I looked at my wife and I was like, I can see the moisture in the air. This is disgusting.
Yeah, the humidity.
It is so gross.
Yeah.
It was that way, dude. I was in Fort Scott last week at Josh's place, you know, and I got off the airplane in Joplin, Missouri. I'm like, oh, this is gross. What am I doing here? You know, it's like I'm just not used to it.
No, I grew up in the Houston area, so yeah. I was pretty much Western Louisiana is where I'm from, so it's still Texas, but it's might as well be Western Louisiana. So.
Roxy says, where'd he go? Roxy says Mardi Gras is like an outdoor live act strip club, but the stretch of puke and possibly is so pungent you can taste it in the air.
Yeah, if you've never been, have you ever even been to Bourbon Street? Like,
no, I've never been to New Orleans.
Okay, so there's a smell of Bourbon Street that you'll never ever forget. It's like feet and ass and piss and puke and rotten alcohol. That's the best way to describe it. But
solid.
But when you pull into the town and when you pull into New Orleans and when you get out and you rather walk down there, Uber down to the quarter, it's like there's just a crazy energy there. It can be a Tuesday in the middle of fucking November and it's just a crazy energy there. Obviously there's been a lot of changes with all the COVID shit going on down there, but and now the hurricane, which is what we're doing. We're doing a live auction Saturday after Conroe for some of the victims of Ida. But I love that town. I absolutely love New Orleans. It's one of my favorite places. Lori and I were actually going to get an apartment down there for a long time until then they banned all of the, you can't do any of like Airbnbs or anything in the quarter anymore. So it didn't really make sense, but I've been going there since I was 16 years old. You could still drink there when you were 18 by then, but I was still drinking at 16 down there. But New Orleans is great anytime if you get off of Bourbon Street and you go find the hole in the wall places. That's really cool. And we know a lot of locals down there. They've become they've become family to us too. But it's not all about partying anymore. It's great for 20 something in the military. It's like off base for a while. You go down and fucking get shit faced. But like Mardi Gras is a whole other level though. Like you can't walk, you can't breathe. You're stacked against someone, and it's miserable if you don't like to be in those situations. So it was great when I was 17, 18, 19 years old. Yeah,
and it's like I would imagine rather it's akin to like Sturgis for those of us up here. It's a bike rally where they'll take a little sleep. Well, the difference is New Orleans isn't a little sleepy town the rest of the year, but Sturgis has got a few thousand people in it 11 months out or 50 weeks out of the year. But for 2 weeks, there'll be 400,000 bikers that go through that town.
Yeah, my mom still goes to Sturgis.
I love Sturgis.
Yeah, my mom goes.
Yeah, we haven't been the last couple of years. Obviously, my daughter was born last August, right during the middle of Sturgis, and my son will be born in October. So we didn't make it this year.
That's cool,
thank you. It's a handful, to say the least.
Dude, I have twins. I have twins. I know what I have. Yeah, my twins are grown though. My girls are 18 and my son's 22. So I'm an old fucker. I'm gonna go have a cigarette.
Yeah, we went from our late 20s to full blown adulting almost overnight.
Overnight. Yep. That's how shit works.
I got a you put those like memories things on Facebook from stuff you've posted in the past, right? I got one yesterday, I think it was, and it was my wife and I on our honeymoon 3 years ago in this little tiny town in Germany, in front of one of the castles from like the 1800s or whatever it was. And I was like, 3 years ago, and now I'm almost. I've got a 13-month-old and one on the way.
Yeah.
And it's like, and I bought a new house and I'm running a business. I'm like, what the hell happened, man? Like,
adulting fucking sucks sometimes. So you're traveling the world, and now you're like trying to get overtime so you can go on paternity leave, you know?
Exactly. Hey, I can't complain though. We our paternity leave program this round, we didn't get it last year because the Senate or whoever the hell, because I work for the federal government, so whoever actually makes all the rules, they enacted it starting August 1st of last year because that was the start of the new fiscal cycle. So when my daughter was born, I was too early. I didn't take part of it, but this time I do. But we get it originally was advertised as 12 weeks of pat leave. But what it actually is 60 working shifts of pat leave, and I don't have to use them concurrently.
What the fuck?
So it's what a bunch of us are doing, because there's like 3 or 4 of us in the facility right now that have or are having kids or whatever. And so what we'll do is you'll take like 2 weeks off straight. So that'll be I guess that'd be 10 shifts, right? For two working weeks. So you'll take 2 weeks off, and then I'll come back and I'll work on Saturday and Sundays because I get premiums for Sunday pay and stuff like that. So I'll work Saturday and Sunday and only take Thursday, Friday, and Monday off. So now I'm only burning 3 shifts a week instead of 5. And so I'll do that for a couple of weeks, and then I'll pick up what is Monday's shift, which is actually Sunday night at midnight, is the overnight. So it's actually Sunday morning and Sunday night, so it kind of works out. But now I'm only using 2 of my shifts a week instead of 3. And so you can work this designer schedule all the way to freaking May. You know, it's like, so it's, yeah, I mean, some doofus in Washington signed off on this deal, so I'm going to take advantage of it.
Fuck yeah.
You know? I'm not one for all this free handout crap, but I mean, if they're going to keep putting it in my account, I can't tell them no. I can't give it back. You know, it's like, so tell us about this shop, man. That's a big new development for you.
Yeah, so like I said earlier, I was actually working on a reptile shop before Herps. I was still vending and breeding and working on it, and just the timing and everything didn't work out right. And then right after, we were working on it a little bit, is when DFW Reptarium started up. And I'm really good friends with David Spicer. That's an amazing. I've talked to him. He's given me so much advice on this whole thing, and his manager Greg Power has been a longtime friend of mine. So. But at that time, it was just like, I got to put that on hold. And I was like, well, in 2014, late 2013, early 2014, I started coming up with the idea to do a show, which my wife still, the first show, she didn't even know it was going to happen. She had nothing to do with any of it. She thought I was just blowing smoke up her ass. I'm like, no, we're doing a reptile show. This is going to happen. And then she saw it. She was like, holy fuck, what the hell? So, but yeah, so the shop came back up. Our friends, the Grant Family Exotics in Oklahoma, they're a young couple, 3 great kids. They've become part of our family. They started vending with us a few years ago, and they were in a tiny little shop, and they went into a bigger shop, and we helped them with their grand opening. We drove up and spent the weekend up there working in the shop, and it kind of relit the fire in my ass, honestly. I was out on the floor selling animals to people, and again, you'll see me at shows behind people's tables selling animals.
Yeah.
I just jump in and help if they need it or whatever. You know, I still love doing that. But so yeah, so today's Tuesday, right? 2 weeks ago. Yeah. 2 weeks ago today, actually, we got the keys to the place, and we started looking about a week before that and looked at like 17 different locations around Bryan. The issue here is that there's no place like this here. There's a good market here. The shows have been really good here that we've done. We've only done 2 shows here, but they're really good. And you can't buy a feeder in this town. You can't buy a feeder in Bryan College Station, and College Station is where Texas A&M is. And you kind of would shy away from a college town, but it's not your average college town. There's 70,000 students that go to this college. But we moved here so our daughters could go here. You know what I'm saying? So that's what you see is a lot of transplant people and people that go to school here live here, and they build their community here, and they build their businesses here. So there's the average median household income, I think, is $68,000 a year here. Wow. That's one of the highest areas that we do shows in, period, even in Houston and Conroe area. So there's money to be spent, and they're all animal lovers because it's a huge agricultural school here. So there's a lot of top vets in the nation that come out of here. So it just made sense. But like I said, you can't go there's a Petco, a PetSmart, and a Pet Supplies Plus here. And we all know about big box stores. But you can't even go buy a feeder from any of those places. You can't. And so I decided in all stupidity, like I didn't have enough already on my plate, let's just open up a reptile shop. And so like I said, we got the keys 2 weeks ago, and I've been working nonstop there. I've been there every single day for 2 weeks straight, working and building stuff and putting stuff together and planning and ordering and still working on the shows. So, I mean, we have Conroe coming up this weekend, and it's our largest show by far, you know, so, it's a lot, but yeah, it's coming along really well, man. We're excited about it. We've already had people stopping by in the parking lot just asking if we're open yet. You know, we joined the local chamber of commerce. Those people, some of the members came to the show, the last Bryan College Station show we had here a few weeks ago, and introduced themselves, and they all own animals. They own reptiles, bearded dragons, ball pythons, whatever. It's crazy. So there's a good exotic community here. It's something that's needed here, obviously. I've hired a good friend of mine, long-term friend of mine, to manage it. He's been in retail for I don't know how long. He's managed retail for years and years and years and years. So he's going to run the shop, and we actually did 7 interviews yesterday and found two employees plus the manager. My kids are going to work up there whenever they want to. And, you know, when I'm not at the shows, I'll be up there helping out too. So.
That'd be sweet. And I saw you brought on Focus Cube to outfit it. Right?
Well, yeah. So I've got a couple pieces from Stephen and Ashley, and Bill Stiegel actually donated a red chondro to me to have as a display animal in the shop.
Oh, cool.
And then he reached out to Stephen and said, "Hey, can you make him a really cool cage?" So that's where the Alpha cage came up. He's donating that red and black. But yeah, I have Steven actually, it was kind of top secret. He finally showed me some designs, but I actually have him, he's building our countertop. He's building a custom countertop for us. And from the design he's shown me, it's also an Ackie enclosure because I have an adult pair of red Ackies that I'm going to put in the shop as display animals. And that's going to be their enclosure too. So it's going to be, yeah, he's doing some shit he's never done before. So, yeah, it's going to be pretty badass when it's ready. But yeah, right now it's just ordering. All the infrastructure's done. We found a place that we can actually, it's 1,100 square foot showroom. It's 2,400 square foot total building. There's one tenant next to us that is another 1,200 something square foot, and they leave in July, and we're taking over their side of it too.
Wow.
And then we're actually talking to the owners already about buying the entire building. They're offering that up, owner finance to us. So it just made sense. And then we're doing something different. We're doing animal interactions. I have a pet wallaby named Grant. He's about a year old. So we actually have an interaction room for him.
You fucking Texas people, man.
Yeah.
Chris isn't kidding. You can own anything you want down there. Freaking.
Yeah.
I don't know if the stat is correct, but Chris always throws the line out that there are more captive tigers in Texas than there are in the wild.
There are.
That's insane.
One of my buddies actually has one that I don't know how old she is, but he has a lion. He just bought a fucking lion.
Oh my God.
Yeah. No, but so we have Grant the wallaby. My wife has a chinchilla room. We years ago, whenever I don't know if you remember Global Exotics or heard about that or even knew what that was.
No.
It was a big warehouse that was in Dallas Fort Worth that was basically where everyone's animals came from. Anything from mammals to reptiles, amphibians. But PETA went in and did some undercover footage, and That place got raided and shut down.
Yeah. I know exactly what you're talking about. Yeah.
So we actually ended up with a bunch of chinchillas from that. We were helping out one of our friends that ran a guinea pig rescue. So we took in chinchillas, but we haven't had them in forever. So my wife wanted to do a whole chinchilla room. So we have a whole room that's just for chinchillas. People can go in and sit on the ground, and the chinchillas will run around and jump on your head and eat raisins. And then we have a tortoise encounter room too, where we'll have our smaller aldabras and sulcatas and things like that, where people can go in and feed them. But we're going to do it educational. So like we have a size chart that's going on the wall with how big they actually get. So we're not just trying to sell a kid a baby sulcata. We're going to say this is how big it's going to get. You know what I'm saying? And then the extra side that we're taking over, we're going to be doing workshops probably twice a month, where we do after hours workshops where we advertise and bring people in and do how to build a cresty enclosure, how to set up a ball python, talk about genetics or anything like that, anything to keep it educational. Yeah. And then we have staff that we've hired that are super experienced in this and kind of follow what we're trying to do. I'm not going to sell all this bullshit kit stuff to people. We want to sell them the right kit and make sure that the animal's taken care of. And we're going to be accountable for it too, So it's a little, again, like we did the reptile shows a little different. We're going to do a little bit of different pet shop too.
It's funny you mentioned that about selling it right and doing it right. And that was one of the things so the guy here, a buddy of mine, people know this, they can't see it. This hatchling rack here is made here locally. And actually, for that matter, the ones I built in Josh and Jackie's place last week while I was down there are from my buddy here in town. And he started building racks and enclosures a couple years ago because there wasn't a source for it up here locally. And every time we ran it, because he runs the show too, every time we ran the show, we'd have in our room, it's a fairly small venue. You're talking 1 to 2 dozen vendors, something like that. I mean, but it's not a big area, big town in that. But so you'd have all these vendors around the outside of the room, right? And the center island was always the main pet shop here in town. It's a little mom and pop pet shop or whatever, right? Yeah. And we noticed is what the problem was, is somebody would come to our table and it would inevitably, and in this market, and I'm sure you probably see this in some of yours, but in this market here, the vast majority of the animal sales are pet owners. They're to kids and pets and, first snake and that kind of thing. It's not to other breeders. It's not to people buying a half a dozen of them at the time, whatever, right? And so what we would do is they'd find a really cool snake on the table. We'd sell it to them. And then we're like, they're like, well, what do we do with it now? I'm like, well, shit. I mean, the only option I have here is to send you across the aisle to the pet shop place, and they're going to hand you one of those prefab 10-gallon tanks with a fucking hot rock and a light bulb that you don't need. And so that's why we started building the racks and the enclosures. Like, we need something so that we can say, look, you can put them in a box if you want. They do just fine in that, in like a display or whatever, but let's not do that. I can show you a better way to do it. Or if you want to get 2 or 3 or 4 around here, this is actually more efficient, and start working towards a rack or something like that, right? And it became to the point where I actually started to go to the pet shop owner, because I'm in there regularly. Obviously, she buys from us a lot, and when I bred rodents, she bought from me all the time. But I was like, man, we could come in here if you would partner with James. We could come in here and completely redo the reptile section of your store. Get rid of all of these glass aquariums and lamps and all that crap. We'll put a variety of different sizes of James's enclosures in here that you can still put all the stuff in that you're going to sell or whatever. And then we'll put a stack of them in the center of the aisle or whatnot that you can buy from James at wholesale. And people will come in and be like, oh, look at this beautiful display. And I love how the naturalistic look. And it's like looking into a window into their world. And it's all black and everything. And like, oh, well, shit, there's one right here. And it's already got the heat tape and a thermostat. And it's $300. And it's like turnkey, right? And she wanted nothing to do with it, And that's crazy. And like you're talking about with your place and your shows and that, like that mentality is why it doesn't, it doesn't exist. It doesn't work. Difference is she has no competition in town. So she can do whatever she wants. Yeah.
Well, our main dry good vendor that's been with us since his first show, he had 4 tables. He does 16 to 20 tables now. But he's grown with he's been to every single show. So he missed one because his son was born. Like on his way here, his son was being born. He had to turn around. But he actually works with all our vendors to build kits for them. So if he doesn't know how to set something up, he talks to the breeder and says, okay, well, he knows everything now. But in the beginning, we would build leopard gecko kits for him and say, you don't need all this bullshit. But he'll tear the kits apart and rebuild them. And all they have to do is walk over. Most vendors will tell them, hey, you're buying a leopard gecko from me? Go talk to Andy and tell him you bought a leopard gecko from me. And they'll go over and talk to Andy, and Andy will have him a kit ready to go. This is exactly what you need. This is how you set it up. This is the thermostat. This is the probe. This is how you do it all. I'll set it up for you and send it home with you. And doesn't rape them on prices. Sells them what they need, and that's all they. You know what I'm saying. So that's kind of the mentality too with us. And we're only buying animals from our vendors. I'm not buying from outside sources. I'm not buying from the Triple L's and places like that, or Strictly or any of that crap. I'm buying animals.
I know. I tried.
No. So I'm only buying. I'm only buying from my vendors, and that's along the lines of that family mentality. Is I want to support their business too. So with our cages and racks and things like that, we have several different people that build all of that, and I'm going to carry a couple things flat pack, but if they want custom work, I'm not going to. That's not my job. I'm going to say, here, let me show you this book. This is what they can build. You can contact them at this number. So for me in our shop, it's more about making sure people are educated about what they're purchasing, and the animals are higher quality and higher standard. And I'm still not ripping people off. I mean, it's obviously a business. We're going to have to buy from breeders, but I'm not breeding enough to stock my store. I only breed a few things here and there, but but I mean, I want it to be quality. And so that's the angle of the shop. So,
well, and you're not, how far are you going to be from DFW then?
It's 3 hours.
3. Okay. I mean, so you're in the wheelhouse of Stewart and Universal Rock and that. Are you going to have some of the naturalistic stuff in there as well?
Yeah. Stewart actually vended one of our first Conroe shows too. Actually, they set my my Universal Rock account up today. So I'm going to be ordering a bunch of stuff from Stewart too. And we'll carry some of that stuff for sale, but we're going to use a lot of that in our displays and stuff. So my first display animal I bought the Brian show was a blackhead from Jim Sargent. So we'll have a couple of display animals only. But most of it's going to be, high quality resale stuff that we know is taken care of. We know it's fed properly. We know it's quarantined properly. We have a whole room. There was a huge walk-in cooler. This place used to be a convenience store. It's this old school walk-in cooler is massive in the back of this building. And it's perfect for a quarantine room. Like everything is in racks separated. It's a massive room. So we're going to do it the right way. I'm not going to be buying Florida wild-caught veiled chameleons for the shop. I mean, and I'm not going to say I'm not going to buy only captive bred, because imports are the only reason we have our animals. There's certain ways to do imports. There's the right way to do imports and the wrong way to do imports. We need bloodlines to outcross some of these things that we're line breeding the shit out of that's causing genetic deformities. So we're not about that, but I'm going to buy from the people that I know that do it the right way. I'm looking for, if I'm doing imports, it's long-term captive, and it's not going on any of my sales floor until I've had it for a while, so.
Yeah, that makes sense. But Stewart, Stewart's a neat guy. I had a lot of fun down hanging out with him. And
if you ever get a chance, ask him to show you pictures on his phone of Australia. He's got some insane pictures. I bet he's still got them on his phone, but of the wildlife that he's seen in Australia while he's been out there. You know what I'm saying? I mean, that's where he's from, obviously, but he's got some crazy, crazy pictures. That's where he got all his inspiration from too. You can see in some of his designs when he showed you pictures, he's like, look at this rock. And I'm like, holy shit, that's on the wall right there. So
Dude, so I was blown away by his place. And for those
really cool.
Yeah, for those of you that aren't sure what I'm talking about, Universal Rock is it's the way Stewart described it to me is it's effectively truck bed liner, but it's a special formulation for him with a specific grit and color in that, but it's that same rubbery consistency in that. And they're based just outside of Dallas. And if you want, there's a couple of videos way back. It was early in my YouTube channel when I was down at his place, but I did an interview with him, and he gave me just kind of free run of the facility for 3
Yeah.
days. Like I just hung out down there and watched him make like hot tubs and freaking rocks and all kinds. But you walk into his like his supply warehouse, and I was just walking up and down these aisles. Like he picked this up, like this is rock A, and this is rock A1, and this is rock, and they're all like, and he got branches, and it's just, I was amazed. And we had it. He sponsored the channel and helped us build our enclosures that we used to have right here before I had to.
Yeah.
I ran out of room when I built this room. But I constantly got compliments, and those are actually still in play here in Montana. One of my breeder friends from about 3 hours west of here bought all of those, and so they're still up and running here in the state with all the backgrounds in that, And but no, it's good. I'll have to get down there at some point. We're actually planning for the first time ever. I think I'm actually going to make one of the big four shows at some point. I've been trying to hit Tinley in October for the last 3 years, and that hasn't happened.
I'm saying I've never been able to. Yeah, it's timing.
Yeah, it was. I was in Europe, or I was back home at my wedding, or now I've got kids, or whatever. Right? It was always something. But I've already blocked the time out and planning on it. We're flying my mother-in-law up here for the weekend so that she can help with the kids, and I'm going to be at Arlington in February. And so I'm finally going to come down and see get away from the snow for a little bit and come see some of the big show stuff. And if I can get down there a day earlier, I got some time, I'm going to have to head out your way, because that'll be neat to see what you guys have got going out there.
Yeah, it should be good. It should be different, at least,
Was there usually it's, I don't want to say like I don't want to sound like I'm like running out of steam here, but these things, I can listen to myself talk for hours, so that's part of the problem. So my wife's always like, is this going to be an hour one, or is this going to be all freaking night? And I shoot for an hour and a half, and it usually ends up being 2+. That's how it works. I've never made an hour long interview, but is there anything that you wanted to promote that we didn't get to, or obviously first of all, where can we get to all of your stuff? And I'll have everything linked below as well, so it's ready to go.
Yeah, you can go to herpshow.net. That's where our show dates and all of our locations are, all the way through 2022. 2023 will probably come out. We've already got the schedule. We just have to work out a little bit of stuff, but that'll come out in a few months, actually. And then on Facebook, it's Facebook/Herp Show. That's one S, not Herp's Show. Herp Show.
There's only one Herp Show. It just happens to be in multiple places.
Yeah. So, well, we started. So everyone asks that. I always get the herpes jokes, and I always fire back at people. But Herp's is Houston Exotic Reptile and Pet Shows, and that's because we started in Conroe. So that's Herp's and Herpetology, and that was the name that I came up with. Knowing that I was going to catch shit for it, I really didn't care. But now, and then we have herpshop.net as well. So www.herpshop.net. Yeah,
that makes sense. Yeah, and now it kind of works. It's like a name within its own name, because now it's Herp's Exotic Reptile and Pet Expo or whatever. Exactly. So it's like,
So that's how we had to do it now. So but so now that's the full name. But yeah, so Herp Show on Facebook. You can message me. And then herpshow.net is the website. Again, that has all of the information about show dates and locations and all that good stuff, and any updates. And then we'll have herpshop.net up. It's got a landing page there right now, but it's coming soon.
Corey came back and said, quarantine room, talking about your walk-in quarantine room. It's insulated. Sounds like a giant incubator.
Yeah, we could set the thermostat there and walk out and leave for a couple of days and come back, and it's the same exact fucking temperature in that room. So
that'd be awesome.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. They walled up where the glass windows were, and then we added we added a return and some HVAC vents in there to get airflow, because we are going to have live rodents and stuff in there. So we needed a return in there, a good ventilation system. But yeah, it whatever temperature you have it set to, it's going to stay there. So it'll be pretty nice. And
then I think it's SAC Reptiles. So you're coming back to Kansas City. I understand at the moment, no.
No, not right now. No.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, no.
That one got kind of boned.
Yeah.
Especially being in Texas, I joked about you guys having everything. I mean, you've got a miniature-sized kangaroo.
He's over there sleeping right now.
That is so. I saw the picture, or you posted a picture or a story or something recently with that. Is that all the bigger he gets? Is he just going to be tiny?
Yeah, so he's a Bennett's Wallaby. He'll be probably about 20 to 24 inches tall. He's right at a year old right now. They weigh average of 18 to 20 pounds. They're a smaller species. So he's actually, I can show you, let's see, let me go that way. That big, huge 8x8 playpen with the sheet on the top of it.
Oh, okay, yeah.
That's where he's at right now. He learned how to hop out of it. So we put a king sheet over the top of it at night to keep him inside because you'll just hear shit rattling around in the house. And I'm working on building him an outdoor pen, but he's going to be up at the shop too. He's got his own room up there. So, but yeah, he's not very big. He chirps at you in the morning when it's time to feed him and when he wants out, and he runs around the house. I think I posted a video last night of him just running around the house. So,
well, that's what I was going to ask. I mean, he makes noise in that, like it.
Yeah, it's weird.
You know,
it's like I don't even know how to. It's like a cross between a. You have cicadas up there. You have locusts up. Okay, you don't have cicadas. Yeah.
No, but I heard all of them when I was at Josh's place.
Yeah, it's kind of
loud.
It's kind of a quick little cicada chirp kind of thing, and he wants your attention. So, yeah,
it's almost like he's barking at you.
It is. He wants your attention. That's how he wants to get your attention. So it's either time to feed him or get him out and let him play and stuff. But I'm on 3 acre. I have a 3 acre property out here, and I've got
awesome.
a little over, probably close to half an acre is tortoise pens in the back with the big Aldabra and sulcata and stuff like that. But I'm going to build him an outdoor pen too. So,
and they're marsupials like kangaroos, right?
Yes.
So is he still a Joey?
Not really. He doesn't even want to. I mean, he has a pouch in there, but he doesn't really go in it. Every once in a while, he'll jump in it. He doesn't want to be in the pouch. So he's weaned. He's not on bottle. He eats hay, and we get the roux chow from Missouri. That's pretty much it.
Missouri makes kangaroo food too.
Oh yeah.
Oh my God.
And it's funny because I went into I have a feed store here. I'm out in the country, and I went up to the feed store, and I've been buying panels to build the tortoise pens and lumber and all this stuff, and they're always asking me what the hell I was doing out here. And I walked in. I said, "Hey man, I need you to order me some tortoise chow and some roux chow." And he goes, "What the fuck is roux chow?" I said, "Kangaroo." And so yeah, now he gets it shipped in and orders it for me when I need it. So
I had no idea. I was blown away because when I used to breed my own rats too, I started a pretty big, big for me. I was producing 400 to 500 rats a month out of my basement. And when I did, I couldn't get Missouri 6F anywhere.
Really?
Rodent breeder. We don't have it out here. It's not a thing. You know what I mean? And I, for that matter, I couldn't get the doggy bag from like Tractor Supply or whatever either.
Wow.
And I tried. I went to all the places because we have Tractor Supply and Shipton's big Western Ranch and shit like that. And they're like, our distributor doesn't even say it's possible to get it here.
Really?
You know, because we're far enough remote that we got like one point with Denver or whatever it is, right? You know. And I finally found the one ranch store out on the west side of town here. And I went in and I said, "Is there any chance you guys can get me? I see in all of your feeds out there, you've got the Missouri brand like pig food and shit like that. So I know you've got a Missouri distributor. Can I get a 6F rodent breeder?" He's like, "I've never heard of it. I don't know what it is." And they found it. And so they started bringing it in specifically for me.
Yeah. And
I would buy 6 bags of it a week. I think something like that. And it word caught on quick around town because there was like 3 or 4 other people in the area that bred rodents a little bit, not very big. And then we've got a big rodent breeder guy about 2 hours from here. That's where I get all my stuff now. But he makes his own blend. And I would go in and my order would be like gone because there were people in town buying. So he started ordering them in 10 or 12 or 20 bag pallets.
Yeah.
And then I went in a little over a year ago. I guess it was a year ago in April when I sold off my entire breeding operation to the guy out west of us here. And I walked into Western Ranch a few months later, and the guy's like, "Hey, where you been, man? I haven't seen you." I'm like, "Oh, I quit breeding rats. I sold everything." He's like, "Oh shit," you know, because now we've got this recurring order of rodent breeder.
Yeah, no, with Missouri, you have to. They're in Dallas Fort Worth too, but you have to carry it in. You have to actually, but you have to carry their full line to be a distributor.
Yeah.
So like my feed store carries all of it for the pigs and stuff like that and cattle and all that. So it was easy for him. I can order it on Monday and he gets it on Wednesday.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah.
Hey, Silver Cash, man, I appreciate you hanging out tonight, and I got all your other ones. I just didn't get a chance to read them, so I appreciate it. And safe trips, man. Dude, I want to get up to the Reptarium. That's gonna be fun. I've been watching. Brian's basically the reason that I have any snakes at this point. And then I don't know if you saw, he was actually here in November. He came through here on his road trip with Noah and Jay, and that which kind of blew my mind that somebody of, I hate to say it this way, but somebody of that stature, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Came to some little collection in the middle of Montana that, some guy he's never met. But I talked to Brian I'd say probably once a week, maybe something like that. And I was, all of his past discretions or whatever, he's just a good dude. It just seems like he's really means well. You know what I mean? I've got no ill will towards him at all. So I'm jealous that Silver Cash is going up to check out the Reptarium. I still haven't got up there. Speaking of places to go, you had mentioned the Dallas Reptarium or Serpentarium, whatever.
Yeah, DFW Reptarium.
I'm 99% sure I've been to that one. That when I was down there visiting Bill and Stuart and Chase Baker and those guys.
Yep.
But the one I've not gotten to is and I'm going to try to make time if I can while I'm down there for Arlington. I really want to go to the World Aquarium. Is it as impressive as everybody says?
It's really impressive. But yeah. I'll tell you what's even better is the MOLA exhibit at the Fort Worth Zoo. The Museum of Living Art.
Really?
That's probably one of my favorite places to go is if you're a reptile enthusiast. I mean, you can sit in the cafe and eat lunch eye level to crocodiles, like glass walls, like in the water. It's really cool. But their exhibits are fantastic, and they have a lot. I mean, I've been to the San Diego Zoo. I went when I went to San Diego Zoo and saw, and honestly, everybody is all about the San Diego Zoo. I thought the reptile house was kind of a letdown because it's like a little building in the middle of it. You kind of walk through and that's it, Of course, I'm a tortoise person, so going and hanging out with the galops was really neat. But I can own galops in Texas, so if I wanted to get galops, I could. But if you get a chance, go to the MOLA at the Fort Worth Zoo. It's absolutely phenomenal.
And I don't know if you've ever been there. You said your mom, I think you said had been to Sturgis.
My mom goes to Sturgis. My mom, yeah. If you met my mom, you'd understand why I say that because she has her own Harley, and she used to ride a Fat Boy, but she got a new trike, and she's probably going to be at Sturgis this year, I'm sure. Who knows? I mean, or next year, whenever it is.
Good for her.
She goes.
Right there I guess it's about an hour and a half probably from Sturgis is the Reptile Gardens.
I've heard about that. Somebody actually told me about that recently.
Fantastic.
That's cool.
It's awesome. It's not massive, but it's 10 minutes from Mount Rushmore. So it's like a whole circuit of things you can do in that area, and every time we're back in Rapid City, we always go, even though I lived there and I've been there a dozen times, but it's a really neat place. It's a really neat exhibit. And like I said, you mentioned San Diego Zoo. I've been there a lot. My go-to right now, having not been to the Fort Worth Zoo, my wife and I, this is kind of our thing because we actually got engaged at the Denver Aquarium. Okay. That was like our first major date was to the Denver Aquarium. And then many years later, we got engaged there, and every time we're back, we go there. But our thing is every new city we go to, we go find the zoo or the aquarium.
Yep. Same thing.
We went to the Gulf Shores Zoo because it's 4 minutes from my father-in-law's house, and that kind of thing. But the one that, if you ever get a chance, if you've never been there, is the Cheyenne Mountain Zoo outside of Colorado Springs.
I love that zoo.
Oh my God, it's phenomenal. Hands down, one of the coolest zoos I have ever been through.
Yeah, last time we were there, we actually went.
It's a freaking workout, but
we take the tram to the top and work our way down.
There you go. That's cheating.
No, I love that zoo. That's one of my favorite zoos too. I love that place.
We're actually planning like a from all corners of the country family get together there next year for my what will be my daughter's second birthday and my son's almost first birthday in that. But that place, for those that are watching that aren't aware, it's just outside of Colorado Springs, right up the side of Pikes Peak. But it's like it's got to be
on Cheyenne Mountain.
Yeah, it's literally carved into the side, and it is a hike to the top, but it is super cool. I mean, you're eye to eye with giraffes, and like everything's super naturalistic because you're literally right in the side of the mountainside.
It's really cool.
Fantastic place. But yeah, I've been wanting to get to Dallas World. That I've always heard that one's pretty impressive.
Dallas World Aquarium is impressive, and you can do both of those in one day. You can go to the MOLA. It's not like we went to the San Diego Zoo, and we were there from when the doors opened till they kicked us out, and we still didn't see the entire thing.
No doubt.
We missed a whole section. So,
but yeah, Monterey Bay Aquarium could do that to you too if you're not careful.
Yeah, we didn't get a chance to do that either. So, but
yeah,
check out the MOLA and check out the Dallas World Aquarium. You won't be disappointed. They're really cool.
Oh, hey, we got I can't pronounce your name, so I'm not even going to try. But they live close. They live in Pueblo, so they need to get to Cheyenne Mountain. You do. That's a neat place for sure. But hey, man, I think at this point, unless there was something else you wanted to hit on that you missed,
I appreciate you having me on. I'm sorry about last time, man.
Dude,
I wish I could have made it. We're busy all the time. So yeah.
I believe me, I feel you. I'm busy, but in a different way, But no, I appreciate having me on or coming on rather, and hanging out. And like I said, I'll be down. So assuming nothing happens, I'll be down your way in February, and I'll have to come try to get out that direction. If not, I'll probably see you at Arlington, I'm sure.
Since we moved from Dallas, it may be a while before I make it back to Arlington.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I mean, Arlington was my home show. I've vended there for years too, but it was 35 minutes from my house when I lived in McKinney. But now that I'm down here in Bryan, it's 3 hours away, and my schedule's just insane now with the shop and everything. So, I know so our show is this weekend coming up in Conroe, and then theirs is the next weekend. So there's no way possible I'm going to be completely slammed, but a lot of my good friends will be there, so live through them.
Yep. And if people on here know, we're trying over the next handful of years, I think we're going to make our way towards Kansas City area, so we'll be in your guys' backyard at some you guys being in Texas, up here in Montana, we are speaking the same language at a 4-hour drive around the corner. So Texas is the backyard for us. That would be totally normal. But all right, boss, I'm gonna let you go. I appreciate it, and
no problem,
and we'll stay in touch.
For sure.
And congrats on the shop, man. That's gonna be rad.
Thanks, man. Appreciate it.
All right, buddy. Take care.
All right, have a good night.
Bye. All right, guys. There you go. Freaking Shawn Gray, man. We were supposed to have a couple weeks ago, like you heard. He got hung up with that whole Pueblo deal, so probably for the better that they're out of there and keeping up the Texas shows for sure. So I appreciate you guys hanging out. I think Silver Cash is gone, but he dropped a bunch of supers that I saw go by, so I really appreciate that. It definitely helps keep us afloat. And thanks for hanging out. If you were not here in the beginning, since there's more people now, I'll go ahead and say it again. We will not be doing any more open mics for the rest of this month, September, just because I got a bunch of overtime and that coming on. Xylo, I saw your message the first time. I don't, because I've got family and friends that often watch these for the interview aspect that want nothing to do with snakes. So for the most part, if I can help it, I try to not have any snakes on the interview live streams in particular for that very reason. So I'll get another picture out to you tonight if I can get some time. I got a bunch to do, but anyway, like I said, we will not have any more lives for the rest of this month because I'm going to be working when it would normally be on. But in a couple of weeks here, the 28th, we are going to have a live clutch cutting real quick around 8:30 my time for the GHI Mojave Clown. So stay tuned to that. And then obviously, if you've been paying attention, we're very quickly coming into, hey, sir, Paul, what's up, buddy? You're very late. So there you go. Anyway, we obviously my son is coming here real soon. So October is going to be very hit and miss. So you guys just bear with me, with that. So just as always, make sure you're subscribed. You got the notifications turned on, and keep an eye on Instagram because that's where all the notices and stuff, whatnot for lives come up in the stories and that. And if you haven't checked it out, check out Morph Market. For us, a bunch of this stuff, we're selling a bunch of breeders, breeder ready, proven breeders, stuff like that. Just kind of rearranging things, refocusing. So I got a lot of stuff available. And through the end of this week, through Sunday, in honor of Labor Day week, we're doing 15% off of everything. Shipping is not included in that price, but take a look, see what you find. I think that I've got most of the ones on Morph Market already reduced. So like Xylo just picked up the one that we have named Jack. He's actually right here. That one was already reduced down. So, yeah, just let me know. I got a bunch of stuff. So that's going to do it for tonight, guys. I appreciate it. Building more Rex. Okay. I mean, I guess let's slide on that one. So, I appreciate you guys, and I'll see you in a couple weeks. Like I said, not next week, but be watching out for that live clutch cutting on the 28th. So, all right, guys, take care. See ya.